So to recap, we go back to this guy. This guy, we found out that he was a real dude. He is a real dude. He is at Tufts University. Basically, he's making the argument. Honestly, I'm a little bit, oh, it's for Politico. Okay. Well, anyways, it's for Politico magazine. So he's using two approaches, which are basically emotional and empirical based, right? In the 2018 article, okay, the one about the neuroscience. Okay, is everybody in? So basically the one about the neuroscience, it's all scientific studies.
Mister,
Mhm.
how much time do we need? My mom's asking.
Okay, yeah, we're almost done. I'm gonna pull up because I want to go through. You can rejoin some other time. I'm just gonna go through the worksheet that I made today. Is this it? Okay. Okay, so I gave you guys a synthesis worksheet. Okay, so maybe you might need some time to process what I said about empirical and logical reasoning. So let's look at this. I gave you two prompts. There's sweatshops. Listen, Anya, I'll just go over this, then I'll continue with everybody else, okay? So you have Article 1, you have Article 2, I highlighted it. After that, you have a poem, okay? So here, God, why did I do this? This shouldn't have been in it, but the machines are so wildly noisy in the shop that I often forget who I am. I get lost in the frightful tumult. So this guy's describing a sweatshop. And this is actually from the early 1800s. Okay. I'll probably redo the worksheet for you guys. So this is him describing people working in a factory. So what I wanted you to do was go through this worksheet, integrating perspectives on trade and environmental impact. Now, with the first one, the first sweatshops benefit children. This was written in 2003. This guy actually says sweatshops are good. You have this one, what the overproduction, what it's doing to the environment. The last one is a poem about what it sounds like and what it's like to work in a factory. Here, develop an argumentative essay that synthesizes at least 3 of the provided sources to support a position on the role of free trade and sweatshops. So what they want you to do, you read them and you come up with a position. Okay. The reason why I wrote this out, Anya, because Anya's going to leave us. Okay. And I'm going to stay with the rest of y'all. You read the provided text. On part B, you read what they give you. You review each source. You get the main idea or the argument. You put it there. You highlight the key points. Okay. And you get what they're arguing about. The first one. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but the key points as evidence, or يعني the key points as like
what
talking
about? And by then how they يعني we'll go through the articles now, okay? We identify common themes. يعني لما بحطوا 3 أشياء مع بعض لازم يكون بينهم relationship. You can't just put 3 things together to put 3 things together. يعني إلا يبقى بينهم إشي.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Right, the first question is like state the thesis or the argument, or I forgot the third one. Should we pick one or the 3 of them?
What I would do if I was you, to show the reader that you could read and you could understand, I would go through all 4. There's gonna be 4. Like, let's say the real test, or for me right now, I would go through each one. I would get the main ideas. I would get the arguments. Okay. And then I would show that I read it and I understood it. At least I get points there. All right. We're trying to get points. Then after that, step 2, I would identify common themes. Okay. What do they have in common? All of them. After that, I would formulate a thesis. And then that's where I'm going to go down here to just try to give you some ideas. I don't want to restate what they said. I have to come up with my own ideas. Remember when we read the articles, quote unquote? Okay. After you guys read the articles, you quote unquote became inspired and you did your second research, your independent research, right? How did you get, you read an article about Simone Biles, and then you got to, you wrote an article, like, for example, Elisa wrote an article about Selena Gomez and her advocacy for mental health. Abdullah was inspired by sports, and he wrote about people wearing religious attire during sports. So you're going to do the same jump here when you formulate your thesis. You're going to read these. It's going to inspire you for something. You're going to come up with a thesis. Does that make sense?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
So in part B, we should only link 2 sources. ولا مثلا, let's say if there's 3, we should link 3.
يكون في 4 300%. بكون في 4.
هم they give us 4.
Oh, بس اسمعي, like I said, we want to get points. I want to show the reader. You have to remember, you're writing for an audience. You're not writing for me. You can't discuss with this person. So how do we get points? 1, I would do a small summary of each one. Okay. Maybe 1 or 2 things. I would write the themes. From that, I would pick, synthesize, and make a thesis for a new thing. Does that make sense?
Wait, summarize all 4?
And the فرجيهم.
And did you read it in a, if you saw my test, I put parts, I didn't connect it كلها مع بعض as an essay. Does that matter or
Yeah. Because you only did
do I have to put it كلها مع بعض?
to get a 6 on that, you have to come up with your own thing. And if we want, we can read the directions again. Part B. Go on to part B. Okay, so let's read this. Read the 4 sources carefully, focusing on a theme or issue that connects them and the different perspective each one represents. So I would write source A, theme blah, perspective blah. Perspective, point of view, whatever you want to call it. Then write a logically organized, well-reasoned, well-written argument that presents your own perspective on the theme. Okay? So you take those themes, whatever they're writing about. Inshallah, they're writing about Cookie Monster. One guy says Cookie Monster's awesome. One guy says Cookie Monster's stupid. You take both of those, you put them together, you come up with your own thing. 2, you must incorporate at least 2 of the sources from the 4. Okay, and link them. So I think that Cookie Monster is awesome because in source A, they said he's awesome and he did this. Okay. Now, in your, you may also use you can use the other ones or draw upon your own knowledge. You can use your own knowledge. In your response, refer to the provided sources as source A, source B, C, or D, or by the author's name. So I could say source A says, Silko said. Here, source B says, Pont said. This one. Source C says, or Thoreau said.
Ms. Kifah?
Yeah.
So, you said it's preferable to start with part B first, but in the actual AP test, isn't it aren't we supposed to start with part A first?
I don't know. They don't have they're not as rigid as SAT. I mean, I saw a lot of teachers, they had their kids, see, it doesn't have the directions like SATs. You know how SAT, they say, go here, go, stop. It doesn't have that.
No, because it states a specific time that we should be done.
No,
For example, I want to do part A and someone wanted to do part B. How are they gonna time us evenly?
no, you're supposed to have 90 plus 30 minutes. So either way, in the end, يعني بتطلع 200, how much? 120, 2 hours. Either way, you still have 2 hours. It's not like the SAT. SAT, we give like 10 minutes or 25 minutes for each section. You're not allowed to touch the other section. Okay, here لا مش مكتوب.
طب why do you prefer إنه نسوي part B first?
أنا بدك تقرأ.
What?
And it needs a lot of time. Is Anya still here?
No, Anya left.
Okay, so let's go over this so we can start reading. Read this one. I want to see what this guy said. I swear to God, I didn't read them. I want to see what y'all think. And so who wants to read? Go. Anyone? Anyone? Hello? Yalla, read. مين فيهم؟ Alisa.
I'll read this key.
Okay, go ahead, Hajar. Yalla.
From where? From two reporters.
Yeah.
Two reporters, Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl Wadden, relayed this anecdote from Thailand. Oh my God, okay. One of the half dozen men and women sitting on a bench eating was a sinewy, bare-chested laborer in his late 30s named Monko Latlakorn. Monko mentioned that his daughter, Darine, was 15 and his voice softened as he spoke of her. She was beautiful and smart, and her father's hopes rested on her. Is she in school? We asked. Oh no, Monko said, his eyes sparkling with amusement. She's working in a factory in Bangkok. She's making clothing for export to America. In 2000, the BBC did an expose on sweatshop factories in Cambodia with ties to both Nike and The Gap. The BBC uncovered unsavory working conditions and found several examples of children under 15 years of age working 12 or more hour shifts. After the BBC expose aired, both Nike and The Gap pulled out of Cambodia under public pressure. Cambodia lost $10 million in contracts and hundreds of Cambodians lost their jobs. Third world countries need the advantage of cheap labor. In truth, every prosperous country on the planet today went through an industrial period heavily reliant on sweatshop labor. The United States, Britain, France, Sweden, and others all rode to modernity on the backs of child laborers. The choice was simple: kids worked or they went hungry. It wasn't a terribly rosy set of choices, but at least the choice was available. Okay. Anti-globalization activists are doing their damnedest to make sure choice isn't available to those living in today's fledgling. I can't see fledglings economies.
I can continue if you want. Is it hard for you?
No, but I just couldn't see. Hold on, let me zoom in a little bit.
Well,
Critics counted.
Go ahead.
Critics counter that unlike in the early 20th century, Western companies today are wealthy enough to pay living wages, to establish comfortable working conditions, and to protect third world environments. They may be right, but then what advantage would there be to investing in the developing world in the first place? Cheap labor is the only chip the third world has to lure much needed Western investment. Take it away, and there's no reason for Western corporations to incur the costs of putting up factories, shipping, security, and the bevy of other expenses that come with maintaining plants overseas. How free trade beats sweatshops. The best way to lessen the plight of sweatshop workers is more free trade, not less. If workers make 75 cents per day in Factory A, the only plant in town, the best thing that could happen to them would be for a second factory to open up. If Factory B pays less than 75 cents, it won't attract any workers. If it offers exactly 75 cents, it might attract a few workers who couldn't get jobs at Factory A. If it pays more than 75 cents, however, it might attract the best and brightest from Factory A. Factory A then must decide whether to up its wages or look for new labor, which means more jobs. Sweatshops lead to success. Recent history teams with examples of how sweatshop labor has helped poor countries leap to prosperity. China, home to millions of sweatshop workers, doubles its per capita GDP every 10 years. Christoph and Wodon write, video arcades and computer schools have opened to cater to workers with rising incomes. A hint of a middle class has appeared. Swedish economist Johan Norberg predicts that all of South and East Asia will be prosperous enough to ban child labor entirely by 2010.
Okay, these people are idiots who wrote this. It's
Yeah.
2023 and child labor actually increased. These are the same arguments that they use for slavery, by the way. Like, these people should be put in jail. Anyways, what was the main idea of this article? Anyone?
Can you go to the top? Sweatshops benefit children.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, let's see if there's a second part to it. Let's do our hack. Oh yeah. Recent history teams with example of how sweatshop labor has helped poor economies to lead to prosperity. There it is. That's the argument.
That's also the main idea.
There it is right there. So basically they're saying this, okay. So they're saying so this is, I mean, do they have a positive take on sweatshops or bad? What do you think?
What was your question?
Do they think sweatshops are good or bad?
They think they're good.
Good. Good.
Did they use good evidence, you think?
No.
I mean, the
Other
evidence,
than the personal interview.
yeah, I mean, they you see that, and that's what makes it seem quote unquote legitimate. This is very right wing, by the way. It's in Capitalism magazine. Like, that's another thing I would look at. It's in Capitalism magazine. So it's going to be very right wing. It's going to be a little bit more Republican than Democrat. So Republican means you're right, you know, Shiani, right wing, but this is things you should know. Yani, Yamian means like you support traditional values. You think women should stay at home. Okay. Center means, you know, you can go both ways. Left means you don't believe in anything that people think are normal. Okay. So this is right wing. And he's saying that if we take away, you see, the thing is, they're actually wrong, because when I'm sitting here arguing with them, if you give these people education, they can actually create better jobs. Okay. And they talk about how when these companies, these are their statistics. They lost $10 million, but they didn't talk about how many lives were saved. Okay, and they didn't talk about the conditions of the workers. So, like, in arguing this, you know, we got the main idea, but they didn't really. Sweatshop labor has helped poor economies leap to prosperity. I don't see where the prosperity is. All right. That means that, yani, they didn't give any evidence of prosperity. They said people earned money. When the factory was closed down, people stopped earning money. Okay, but they didn't show that they were prosperous. Yani mahum masari. Okay, what an issue. Let's look at this one.
Right, you said إنه في empirical وفي logical.
Yeah.
Is this like logical?
This is more or less logical. They did use some empirical, okay, which was right here. More or less, but doesn't really prove anything. I still don't understand how this makes people better. Okay, as soon as the jobs are gone, these people lost their jobs. So I don't get it. So how does the work make it better? Yes, and this is a logical argument. In truth, every prosperous country went through an industrial period. Okay, but they didn't make it right. And they built on the backs of child laborers. Kids worked or they went hungry. But still they didn't prove how sweatshop labor has helped poor economies leap to prosperity. Did they prove this point? Does sweatshop labor make countries stronger? Do you think they proved it? Listen, you guys are going to go back and look over this. I'm going to discuss it with you.
Can we say that it's the amount of information is insufficient.
Absolutely. I mean, he doesn't give me any outcomes.
We can mention this.
Yeah, like for example, if I was gonna go into this, okay, there's something like, okay, they finished working at the factory, they took their money and they went and invested and built other businesses. Or actually how he would show, you see, this is how you show, I'm gonna just actually discuss this, so just in case an article comes up with you guys. The way that you show something's successful. Okay, so let's say these guys worked in the factory, they took their money and they put it back in the economy. Okay? If he said like 50% of their wages went back into the economy with them buying food, with them supporting local businesses, that would be a sign of success. Does that make sense? Yani they have to show the money trail. He didn't show that. All right.
Yeah.
This has no Shisma, this right here, because this is actually made up. The reason why China doubles its GDP is because it devalues its something that has absolutely nothing to do with sweatshop workers. That's why they didn't put in any. If this had numbers, China home to millions of sweatshop doubles its GDP every 10 years. Okay, big deal. Then what? Go ahead, Abdullah.
When we want to state the article and the essay, do we just say article A, article B, article C?
You either say source A or the name of the author. Let's go down to this one.
Wait, is that part B or part A?
Now we're on part B, how to do part B.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'm going to go through this so I can also read the poem. Last week, an exclusive report in the British newspaper, The Guardian, revealed that a mind-boggling 13.3 quadrillion microfibers, okay, were released in the
Empirical.
Do what?
That's empirical.
Good. All fabrics release microfibers, whether they are organic, like hemp or wool, synthetic, polyester, acrylic. Since their discovery in 2011 by ecologist Mark Brown, much of the conversation surrounding microfibers has focused on synthetic fibers in particular. That's because as a product of the petrochemical industry, synthetic fabric is essentially plastic, making the microfibers it release a form of microplastic pollution. As the California study suggests, plastic microfibers are a disturbingly abundant foreign substance in the Earth's ecosystem. They make up 90% of the microplastic pollution. So here we have a logical argument, okay? We also have a little bit of empirical stuff mixed in. So it makes it pretty legit. While larger pieces of plastic garbage in the ocean are largely attributed to poor waste management in rapidly developing economies, microfiber pollution is predominantly linked to wastewater from developed nations. According to an article recently published, and there goes your empirical, okay, by American textile chemists and colorists, clothing releases the most microfibers while being machine washed. And many of those fibers elude filtration in treatment centers. See, we got all the big words, and then we got all the numbers. 83% of the global tap water samples contains microfibers. Shifting away from synthetic, so is the solution stop buying synthetic clothing? Shifting away from synthetic fabrics is one way to reduce microplastics in the ocean, says Dr. Brian Hunt, biological oceanographer. Decreasing the demand for synthetics would decrease production. Recently, some retailers have marketed antimicrobial and anti-odor clothing they claim require only infrequent washing. Hunt considers such initiatives as well as a movement among eco-conscious consumers to buy more organic, natural fabrics generally encouraging. But still, he says, there's the question of what happens with these new approaches. Everything we do has some kind of effect, even with natural clothing. Depending on how it's treated, there might be some contributions to pollution in the ocean. Wool and cotton may be chemically processed. They also require much water and energy to produce. Buying lots of fancy new environmentally friendly gear is still less sustainable than sticking what you already have. In the same sense, boycotting polyester is good, but let's not forget the problem microfibers is amplified by the amount of clothing we're producing and buying on a macro level. This is a complicated as crap article. Now, the emergence of fast fashion in the early 2000s introduced consumers to cheaply made, often synthetic clothing on a massive scale. A growing middle class has helped clothing production double. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little bit towards the end because we got 10 minutes left. Now I want to look with effort and innovation, microfiber pollution can be reduced. As for the quadrillions of fibers, the fabrics all around you are shedding. Think of them the next time you catch yourself impulse shopping for a new outfit. So I want to say the microfiber pollution and mass production is the main idea. Okay. Does this have any element that ties to the first article?
I don't really see it.
Hajar, any,
Yes, maybe
go ahead.
maybe the excess amount of sweatshops makes more pollution.
Good. Well, you're also resident expert because this was your subject for first semester. So we could talk about mass production as being sort of the themes of both articles. And Akif, they use lots of children to produce these things. Okay. And the effects being that it pollutes the environment. Okay. Now, going down to the poem. Forget this. I'll fix this and send y'all another thing, but I'm going to start from right here. The machines are so wildly noisy in the shop that I often forget who I am. I get lost in the frightful tumult. Myself is destroyed. I become a machine. I work and work and work endlessly. I create and create and create. Why? For whom? I don't know, and I don't ask. What business has a machine thinking? I have no feelings, no thoughts, no understanding. The bitter, bloody work suppresses the noblest, most beautiful, best, richest, deepest, and highest things that life possesses. Seconds, minutes, and hours go by. The days and nights sail past quickly. I run the machine as if I wanted to overtake them. I race mindlessly, endlessly. The clock in the shop never rests. It shows everything, strikes constantly, wakes us constantly. Someone once explained it to me. In its showing and waking lies understanding. And I seem to remember something as if from a dream. The clock awakens life and understanding in me. And something else. I forget what. Don't ask. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a machine. Stops here. How did Rosenfeld feel about his work? In this poem, how did he feel about his work? Anyone? This poem that I just read, how did he feel about his work? Did he feel good?
Good.
Good?
Wait.
I'm sure.
No, he doesn't feel good.
Son. No, he does not.
Yeah, I know.
Does working in a sweatshop, is it good work? Like the first article was saying that it's a good thing for the economy.
No, but he's saying here, I work and work endlessly. No, like he's tired and yeah.
And he's missing out on so much. See, the bitter, bloody work suppresses the noblest, most beautiful, best, richest, deepest, and highest things that life possess. The bitter, bloody work suppresses, yani bikhmida. He can't go out and enjoy his life. So in preparation for an interview, write 2 questions. Let's say, oh, this I left it like just hypothetical. What light does the poem shed on the experience of American workers? Do you think that these people, like these people say, okay, look, like, hey, every prosperous country on the planet today went through an industrial period, heavily reliant on sweatshop labor. Okay, kids work and they went hungry. It wasn't a terribly rosy set of choices, but at least the choices were available. Okay, they could have gone to work. I mean, this guy. Does this guy sound like he has a choice to be there? I mean, it sounds like if he doesn't come to work, he's going to be hungry.
Yeah, he sounds like he's forced. It's not like his decision.
Okay. Now, here's the question. I want you to guys go through this. And here's the instructions how to go through a part B. You'd read, identify, create your own thesis. I'd like to see what you guys come up
May
with.
you send this on WhatsApp,
Yeah, I did. I'm going to redo the poem though.
including the tears?
Now,
Okay, including the tears.
I will. So
Okay, thank you.
questions, I want you to remember them. So when you do your test, you can have these questions in your head. Because we have contrasting viewpoints. Article A and Article 2 don't match. They're totally different viewpoints. I would like to come back and discuss. Okay. This is sort of telling you how to develop your own ideas. Here's the essay development. Now there's something else. This is sample synthesis. This is a what if. We got 3 minutes. So possible essay 1 from reading these 3 things is this. Possible essay 2 is this. I read these 3. Possible essay 2 is this. Possible essay 3 is this. These are the synthesis pieces. Okay, guys, I know it's complicated a little bit. You're going to have to read it once, twice, 3 times. You have to learn how to sift through it and go through it. Okay, now. And it even gives you directions how to write it. How to write the possible synthesis pieces for these 3. When I organize things, I like to use mind maps. Okay, so this is basically into كلمة node. Yani this is like a outline. Okay, so this is the first article, second article. Yeah. Yeah.
When the people who grade our papers, do they follow this thing? Like, is it supposed to be like, what if, for example, I came up with a topic that's not on this rubric thingy?
Look how I'm going to show you how we grade. What are you, AP? Oh, come on. AP 9, 10. Is this it? Study guide? Yeah. Look what they have us. The response accurately identifies the author's argument. This is for part A. The response provides a thorough explanation. Look at part B. The response identifies a theme or issue connecting the sources and presents a perspective that is not, and listen to this, and presents a perspective that is not represented in one of the sources, or brings a particularly insightful approach, or makes a strong thematic connection among perspectives. يعني ايش قاعدين بيحكوا؟ إن they get you انتوا قرأتوا وطلعتوا إشي جديد أو عرفتوا تدققوا عليهم بالضبط الثيمز وإيش بحكي وليش إيش وليش. Does that make sense? You see
Yes,
this right
yes.
here? This is how, you guys want to look at that? Would that help you?
Yeah.
All right, go through it, look at it. Hajar, are you still here? Who's here?
Yeah,
Am I making sense?
yeah.
All right, I want
I
you
read through this before the mock.
no,
I read through this before the mock, and like I get it. I get.
shoot, we have less than a minute. I'm gonna re-share this and the tiers. Let's start working through this.
Okay.
And I can give you a mock and another mock. Okay?